Let's just get straight into it. Today, we're diving into a high-stakes explainer on exactly why standard circulatory treatments and even powerful superfoods like beet juice start failing us as we get older. If you're over 45 and you're relying on these to fix your circulation, there's a very real, profound chance they are completely failing you. And look, it's not because the interventions are weak. It's because your body has fundamentally changed. So we're launching a critical investigation today into this silent vascular crisis that really accelerates after our mid-40s. I want to pose an urgent question to you. Why is your vascular system silently neutralizing the exact nutrients you consume to help it? You know the feeling, right? Heavy legs by 2 in the afternoon, hands going numb on the steering wheel, or feet that just simply never seem to get warm. We've kind of been conditioned by society to just brush this off as getting older, but actually it's not. It is a severe yet completely correctable nutrient gap, and honestly, treating it with passive acceptance is a really dangerous mistake. So the crucial takeaway here is that after age 45, these silent biological shifts are happening inside your body that literally cut the circulatory effects of powerful natural interventions like beet juice straight in half. Your biology is quietly rejecting the raw materials meant to save it. You're swallowing this powerful drink, and your body? It's processing it like tap water. To bypass these physiological failures, we need some very precise, targeted biochemical additions. Let's move right into Section 1, the nitric oxide blockade. So beet juice is supposed to create nitric oxide. That's the miraculous molecule that widens your blood vessels. But here's the catch. It requires a strict two-step conversion process. And that second step is exactly where the crisis silently begins. 30 to 40%. Think about that terrifying number for a second. That represents the documented drop in stomach acid we experience as adults age past 45. And why does that matter? Well, the second step of nitric oxide creation absolutely requires a highly acidic environment. Without adequate stomach acidity, the conversion process just runs cold. The nitrates from your beet juice never actually convert to that vessel-relaxing nitric oxide. The raw material is sitting right there, but the biological machinery just lacks the spark to ignite it. But there's a fascinating fix. Clinical research out of the University of Southampton revealed a really surprising solution to this block. Adding the vitamin C and citric acid from fresh lemon juice directly restores that missing acidic environment. In fact, combining nitrates with vitamin C creates a massive 33% increase in measurable nitric oxide byproducts in the blood, compared to just taking nitrates alone. This research actually points to a very strict clinical protocol. First, squeeze 1 full lemon directly into your beet juice. But wait, and this is critical, the science shows you cannot drink it immediately. You have to let that mixture sit for exactly 60 seconds. That contact time is totally non-negotiable. It primes the acidic environment and triggers the conversion before the liquid even reaches your compromised stomach acid. It basically ensures the nitric oxide pathway is fully activated before you even take a sip. Okay, moving on to Section 2, rebuilding endothelial production capacity. Now, here's where it gets even more concerning. Even with proper conversion, your arterial factory is actively breaking its own production through a compound called ADMA. Think of ADMA as a biological emergency brake on your nitric oxide production. And after 45, it surges an estimated 25% above normal levels. It is quite literally choking off your circulation from the inside out. But nature provides an exact inhibitor for this: raw garlic. When you crush it, garlic produces a powerful compound called allicin. And allicin directly inhibits ADMA. It basically forces your body to release that brake it clamped down on your blood flow. The clinical power of putting these together is just striking. Researchers down at the University of Alabama found that combined nitrate and allicin intake produced a 28% greater improvement in arterial flexibility compared to taking nitrates alone. So think of it this way. The beet juice is delivering the raw materials, and the allicin from the garlic is firmly releasing the brake pedal. But you know what? Releasing the brake still isn't quite enough. And it comes down to this dangerous metric right here: 35%. That is the amount of nitric oxide synthase enzymatic activity you lose in your endothelial cells as you age. Your factory's machinery is fundamentally breaking down. You're losing the core enzymes required to keep those blood vessels open and functioning properly. So how do we upgrade that failing factory? Well, we turn to raw, unalkalized cacao powder. It's absolutely packed with highly concentrated flavonols that help partially restore that lost enzymatic activity.
Mechanistic studies show that adding this into the mix creates a massive 58% synergistic spike in your nitric oxide response. It doesn't just add to the beet juice, it compounds its effects dramatically.
Which brings us to Section 3, altering blood viscosity mechanisms. Opening up the pipes is only half the battle if the actual fluid inside is just too thick to move. And this dives into hemorrheology, the science of blood viscosity. Post 45, your blood thickness increases by an estimated 18%. Your red blood cells actually become stiffer, making them less able to squeeze through your tiny capillaries. To put that into perspective, a small increase in thickness acts exactly like trying to suck thick syrup through a narrow straw. It dramatically reduces the flow to your peripheral tissues, essentially starving your fingers and toes of vital circulation. To dynamically thin this fluid out, we turn to fresh, raw ginger root. Grating fresh ginger delivers gingerols and shogaols. These compounds directly inhibit a very specific process called thromboxane A2 synthesis. In fact, a randomized controlled trial from the University of Sydney found that this intervention resulted in a clinically documented 23% reduction in platelet aggregation. So, the beet juice dilates the channels, and the ginger dramatically thins the fluid flowing right through them. All right, let's jump to Section 4, repairing structural arterial damage. This is perhaps the most emotionally resonant and, frankly, terrifying part of our investigation today. We're talking about the severe structural damage quietly accumulating in your arteries. As we cross into our late 40s and beyond, the specific enzyme that recycles L-arginine, which is the direct molecular raw material for nitric oxide, declines by 20%. Basically, your supply line is thinned out. Because of this, adding 3 to 5 grams of pure L-arginine powder to your regimen becomes absolutely mandatory to resupply those raw materials. Johns Hopkins researchers actually found that this specific supplementation improved walking distance in older adults with vascular disease by an impressive 22%. But listen, the raw materials mean absolutely nothing if the building is collapsing around them. I want you to hear this stark warning from the cardiovascular community. From a vascular medicine standpoint, you may have been throwing away the most cardiovascularly powerful part of the plant every single time. And what are they talking about? The ultimate key to structural vascular repair is actually the part of the beet most people just rip off and toss straight in the trash, the leafy beet greens. There is a literal microscopic war happening inside your vessels right now. As you age, an amino acid called homocysteine accumulates in your blood. It acts like a highly corrosive acid, triggering microscopic inflammation and practically destroying your arteries from the inside out. But those discarded beet greens, they contain incredibly high concentrations of betaine. Betaine happens to be the most potent dietary reducer of homocysteine found in nature. It completely neutralizes that acid and repairs the structural integrity of your arterial walls. And the clinical data backing this up is simply stunning. Research shows a massive 47% greater improvement in endothelial function when beetlean clears out that homocysteine compared to just using nitrates alone. By utilizing those beet greens, you are clearing away the structural damage. You're leaving a structurally intact, inflammation-free surface for the nitric oxide to actually do its job. You are fundamentally restoring your body's capacity to respond. And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the clinical preventative protocol. So, how do we put this all together? We can combine all 6 of these non-overlapping biological mechanisms into one urgent, daily preventative protocol. It targets the exact physiological failures happening in your body right now. Here is the precise biochemical preparation. First, crush 2 garlic cloves and let them rust for 10 minutes. That maximizes that ADAMA inhibiting allicin we talked about. Second, blend those cloves with your beet juice, the full squeezed lemon, raw unalkalized cacao, grated fresh ginger, 3 to 5 grams of L-arginine, and yes, those leafy beet greens. Finally, drink this complete preparation exactly 90 minutes before your most demanding physical activity. That timing is absolutely critical because it aligns perfectly with your body's maximum vasodilation peak. We're wrapping up our investigation today with this provocative final question for you. Will you accept vascular decline, cold hands, and heavy legs as just an inevitable part of aging? Or will you execute the exact protocol your arteries are desperately waiting for? Look, your circulation is not permanently broken. It's simply nutrient depleted and enzymatically undersupported. You now have the clinical blueprint to take total control of your vascular health. Ultimately, the decision of what goes into your glass tomorrow morning is entirely yours.